All right, 1 second there. All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Want to still answer up a few things from last week, but first thing is spoke last week about Jews, whether we have an obligation to preach the Noahites. Yeah, so pretty much made clear that even though we're a light into nations, not our obligation, right? Non-Jews, have to keep whatever is universal, right? Which we've spoken about a number of times. And they, if they want to find the information, they can. It's, and God's not going to zap them for things they wouldn't know about, right? Things that are obvious, that they have to keep, don't kill, don't steal. There are a lot of details, no question. We're giving class on this the last 6.5 months, 7 months, about what non-Jews are obligated, the Noahide laws for Noahide nations. But I just want to make one clarification, and that is let's say better. I made clear, at least my Rebbe holds, others hold, as well, that, there's no obligation for us, for Jews, to reach out to them. Because again, these things are universal. We're going to speak about that a little bit more. But, it's not our job. We got a lot of things to do, a lot of Jews to bring back, no question. Non-Jews keeping their own mitzvahs. I've been trolled on this question for a while, by some people, but it's not our job, right? Non-Jews want to reach out to non-Jews, and proselytize the Noahide laws, not a problem, right? Doesn't seem like it's an issue. Right, but what's my clarification? Someone commented on my posts, and said, "Well, I find these rabbis' words a bit ignorant." Somebody says it's accurate. Here are a few links. The same question. Yeah, what do they quote from? Where do they bring quotes from? Chabad.org. Now, I don't have any problems with Chabad, but I want to make one clarification, and that is the only ultra-Orthodox group or Hasidic group out of anybody that reaches out to non-Jews for the Noahide laws is Chabad. That's a known thing, right? I'm not reinventing the wheel, right? They're big in Jewish outreach, bringing back Jews don't know anything about Judaism, and they're big about, working with non-Jews and going out to them and reaching out to them, for the Noahide laws. Okay, I don't disagree with that, right? But nobody else does. Let's make clear, nobody else does. Period. Right? So you want to say, or someone wants to make a claim, well, I can also quote from Chabad.org. I can also show people are going to say how important it is to bring non-Jews back to their mitzvahs. Okay, so they're the only ones that say it. Show me other sources that say it. That say that it's a mitzvah for a Jew. There's a mitzvah for a Jew to bring back non-Jews. To bring back non-Jews to the Noahide law. Right? So the only group that does it is Chabad. Okay. I don't have an issue with that. That's what they do. Right? They're big in bringing, trying to bring Jews that don't know anything about Judaism back. Right? And teaching them about Judaism. Okay. I don't have a problem with that. Right? I think they do a lot of good work. They're in all the 50 states in America. Right, every single state. What was the last state? South Dakota. Right, that was the last state. They opened up a Chabad house. Okay, I don't deny that. I'm not denying that. Yeah, but that's not my job. That's not our job. Chabad says it is. Okay, but who else says like Chabad? Nobody. Let's repeat that. Nobody. Nobody says it. Nobody says it's a mitzvah for us to go out to them. Besides them. Okay. They want to say it, okay. I got people that say not that way. Mostly everybody in the Orthodox community says not that way. Non-Jews want to do it, fine. Jews, who says it's my obligation? You know, who says it's my obligation besides Chabad? Nobody. I'm not coming to downplay Chabad. I'm just saying nobody else says it. Nobody. So that's not ignorance. Those are the facts. Right? Those are the absolute facts. Yeah. You know, so yeah, so they say one thing, yeah, what I say is accurate. It is accurate because those are the facts on the ground. Nobody else says such a thing. And if you find someone else says it, okay, they're not the majority, not even close. Not even close. So I tell people, okay, you know, I'm not saying people can't disagree. You want to disagree, disagree. Get the facts straight. If you're going to disagree, show me facts besides Chabad. I know what Chabad holds. You can also read their articles. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. You know, fine. You can show me that proof. Very good. So, who else holds it? Thank you very much. Nobody. Yeah, just want to address. That's one thing. You know, that's one thing I wanted to hit. There are a few other things here. We'll see how far we go. Now, you know, I mentioned last week. So the person sent me a whole bunch of questions. Right? A whole bunch of questions, which again, you know, questions are fine. I could care less if people want to ask questions. They got good questions. You know, people have good questions. There are ways to ask questions, right? Sometimes people come and ask questions with an attitude, right? I understand there's a lot of frustration. Yeah, a lot of frustration. People want to learn. You know, they can't get information. They don't know how to learn. They can't read Hebrew. I get it. It's a lot of frustration. And a lot of times, you know, Orthodox Jews don't want to deal with converts or no eyes. I get it. You know, I get it, but see where the questions come from. Yeah. So next question was, what's the purpose of non-Jews? Yeah. So the Ramchal and Derech Hashem, right, has a whole chapter on it. It speaks about it. But non-Jews do not have, I mentioned this last week, and I mentioned it again because I want to flush out this question. And the question was, I'll get to the question in a second, but what's the purpose of non-Jews? Right? So the question was, if you're going to tell me, like Ravaja says, a blessed memory, Ravaja Yosef, right? A blessed memory says, he's not the only one, by the way. I mean, everyone else is going to say the same thing. You know, whether they're Chabad, whether they're ultra-Orthodox, you know, it doesn't matter what sect the person belongs to. This is going to be universal. And that is, Jews and non-Jews are not the same. What makes a Jew different from a non-Jew? The fact that we have, you know, that God spoke to us on Mount Sinai. We have special aspects of our soul non-Jews don't have. We have more mitzvahs to do. That makes us different. Not saying it makes us better. It makes us different. We have more obligations. Now, can a non-Jew reach a higher portion of the world to come than a Jew? Sure. If you got a Jew who doesn't do anything and isn't married and all kinds of other things, sure. Right? They can also have a portion of the world to come, but they don't have the same status. The Ramchal says black and white, and everyone holds by the Ramchal. Right? The Ramchal wrote Path of the Just, wrote a lot of books in Kabbalah, you know, etc. Everyone holds what he says. You know, read over there. If you have the book Derech Hashem, go see what he says over there. He says he's pretty graphic. He's pretty graphic, right? And he says we're not the same. We're not the same, right? So the claim is, but non-Jews, you know, their purpose is only to serve Jews, right? See where the question is coming from? They're only to serve the religious Jews, right? Like Avadja says. So again, what's the purpose of non-Jews in the world? Who's the main person in the world? Jews. We have all the obligations, for better or for worse. So if we have all the obligations, we're held to a higher standard. And no nation has been persecuted more than us. And God says explicitly, you do the right thing, as we say in the Shema, second paragraph of the Shema, everything will be good. We'll have rain, we'll have food, everything's good. If not, we're in trouble. We're in serious trouble. Yeah. So what's the purpose? So if the whole world revolves around us, and we're God's chosen people, God says it himself. You can't tell me the Torah is written by man. Right? Plenty of people say, I'm going to listen to what God says. Okay, this is what God says. God says we're chosen. So if we're chosen, that means, by definition, non-Jews are not chosen from any of the nations. God gave an opportunity to accept the Torah. They didn't want it. Right? So the question is, so why does it go like Ravaja said? Why does it have to be like that? right? The question is, if there's a Jew who steals and lies, right, but he keeps Shabbos because he's obligated, right? He can do terrible things, but can also be religious at the same time, kind of a contradiction, right? But what about a decent non-Jew who doesn't do any of those? Yeah, that doesn't change their status. A non-Jew's status does not change unless they convert. They want to convert, great. They don't want to convert, okay. They don't have to, right? No one's saying they have an obligation to convert. But at the same time, they're not the same. They're not created the same as Jews, period. It's just, that's not the way it is, right? So then the question is, well, you could have a decent non-Jew who doesn't do any of those. Okay, so that doesn't change anything, right? Someone told me they were in the process of conversion. They couldn't move to a Jewish community. They were willing to do certain things the rabbinical court didn't want for whatever reason, and they say we're doing more, we're doing more than most Jews, blah, 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 blah. And then they said, look at us, we're doing more than most Jews. Look how many gays there are in Tel Aviv. What in the world is the connection? So what? So what if you have all these Jews that are gays in Tel Aviv? It's bad. It's really bad. Doing it in God's backyard, that punishment could be severe. Absolutely severe. But what? That doesn't change anything. Just because a Jew is born a Jew and they do terrible things, that doesn't change the status of a non-Jew. Doesn't. They can be a decent non-Jew. They can have a portion of the world to come more than these people. Okay? I don't deny that. That doesn't change their status. But remember one thing, right? One fundamental thing. And the one fundamental thing to remember is, it says in Tractate of Orthodox 2b to 3a, you can look it up. God goes to all the nations to ask them if they want the Torah. Yeah, they all reject it. God goes to Esau, says what is written in the Torah. What does he say? What does God say? You can't kill. So what do you mean? It says I'm going to live by the sword. So it says I'm not interested. Goes to Yishmael, right? Goes to Yishmael. Yishmael says, what's written in the Torah? It says don't steal. Says, but I'm a wild man. The Torah says, my hand's in the hand of everyone. Everyone is a hand in me. I'm a thief. That's my nature. I'm a thief. Now I'm not interested. God went to all the other nations. All the other nations reject the Torah, the Gemara says. Not only that, comes the Jewish people, say, you want the Torah? They say, sure. You want to know what's written in it? They said, we don't care. What did the Jewish people say? Na'aseh v'nishma. Right? We said, we will do, and then we'll hear. Then we'll hear whatever it is, that we're supposed to do. Right? So now let's go back to the question. The question's a little bit dicey here, a little bit dodgy, sorry, as the the English would say. So the question is, so why does it have to be like that? Well, let me ask a question with a question. The non-Jews rejected the Torah. I don't care if you would have been there 10 generations back, 50 generations back, you would have been there on Mount Sinai, or you would have been there, you would have rejected the Torah. Okay, so the non-Jews rejected the Torah. They rejected the Torah. It's what the Gemara says, what the Medrash says. In any case, God says the Jews are my chosen people. Period. That's the end of discussion. That's the end of discussion. Oh, but why does it have to be like that? Because you rejected the Torah. That's the reason. Your nations didn't want the Torah. Then all of a sudden you come back to, 2,000 years later, 2,500 years later, right? More, 3,000 years later, right? Now someone comes back and says, but that's not right. I want a piece of it. I should have just a bigger portion as a Jew. I beg to differ. The Torah begs to differ. The Torah does not say the non-Jews are chosen. That's not what it says. You want to be chosen? Fine. You can convert. You don't want to convert? Well, you can't convert. Okay. That's your choice. But you can't change it. You don't get it both ways. But I would agree. If there's a decent non-Jew out there doing better, keeping the Noahide laws than a Jew, than what a Jew's doing, should they have a better portion? They should. Why not? We're not saying even if they do all that and it's homosexual and Tel Aviv is going to have a higher portion of the world to come. Doesn't make sense. I would agree. So the question is, so why do they have to serve us? So again, what's the purpose of non-Jews in the world? If they were supposed to be at the pillar at the top the top of the mountain, God would have said that. They weren't. They could have been. They didn't want. They absolutely didn't want. So we have an advantage. What's our advantage? We have an elevated soul. Right? This is exactly what the Ramchal says. The Jews have an elevated soul. If a non-Jew converts, they can also have an elevated soul. If they don't convert, we're different. We're different because we chose God and he chose us. That's the difference. Why does it have to be like that? Because that's the way it is. That's what happened. We chose God. Non-Jews had an opportunity up until the Tower of Babel. The Ramchal says, but God had mercy. He said, okay, we'll give everybody a chance to join Abraham. Up until the giving of the Torah Mount Sinai. Whoever didn't choose, whoever didn't want to be a part of it has to go through conversion. Okay. But they made a choice. The nations made a choice. Right? So the Ramchal states clear that the Jews are different. Their soul is different. Their makeup is different. Their DNA is different. The Torah says clear, God chose us. So if he chose us, and someone's going to say, oh, see, you think you're better. There's only one difference. It's a major difference, but there's one difference. What's the difference? God gave the Torah to the Jewish people. That's the difference. And we have more mitzvahs to do and more things to perfect our soul than non-Jews. So by definition, what does that mean? By definition, it means I have a higher purpose. That's what it means. All right, someone's going to say we're all created B'Tselem Elokim. We're all created in God's image. That's true, right? Beginning of Genesis. God created man in our image, right? Obvious question, who's God talking to? The heavenly court, Rashi says. Right, he's talking to the heavenly court. Right? Show his anivus, show his humility. He didn't have to ask the heavenly court, but he did. And he created man. Okay. Yeah, even though we're created, everyone's created in God's image, right? Whatever that means, even if we're all created, are we all created equal? Are we all the same? Let's say another way. Are men and women the same? So you can tell me, well, two different stories. How man is created. Man's created from the dust of the earth. Woman, one story is, according at least to the way the Torah says it, she's created from his loins. Right? From his ribs, from his inside. Yeah. The Gemara says, learns from another verse in Genesis, they were created face to face, back to back. And then God split woman. Right? It's a little bit hard to read it in the verses. Right? It's a whole discussion how you actually read it, how you're able to read it in the verses. But even so, are men and women different? Right? You ask a bunch of feminists, right? Big time feminists. Is there any difference between men and women? What are the women going to say? No. Okay, let's ask the question again. Are there any differences? Any differences whatsoever? Right? Any differences? I can think of one. Women can have kids. Men cannot have kids. Right? That's a difference. So there are physical differences. 100% biology 101. Right? We're going to keep this clean. Biology 101 or 101A. Right? We're different physically. Right? Now, this is not a big leap of faith to say if we're different in creation, how we're created, could also very well be we're different in what? We're different what our obligations are. Right? So without even getting into all that, we're different. We have different obligations. Right? See, this is something people have a hard time wrapping their head around, and that is, I grew up in America or some other democracies, around the world, they're going to say everyone's equal. Yeah, I tell that to the blacks during slavery, right? During what do you call it? Civil War, right? How many blacks did it take to equal a white man so they get out of fighting or whatever? I mean, come on, okay. So they fought over that. But all things being equal, again, I'm not saying it's right by any stretch, but all things being equal, what are we going to say? People are going to say we're all equal. I don't know. Men are stronger. Men do more physical labor than women. No question. No question. We're not the same. But everyone's going to try and convince you because they're going to brainwash. They see we're all equal. Yeah, in Judaism, it's not a question about equality. It's a question about obligation. It's a question what we're obligated to do. Right? A Levite cannot do what a Kohen does. A Yisrael, everyone else is not from the tribe of Levi, cannot do what a Kohen does. I mean, today, it's a real point. There's not really that much Kohen does more than everybody else, right? But they were serving in the temple. We had a temple in Jerusalem today. That'd be different. Fine. Yeah. So you guys say, that's not fair. I want to be a Kohen. Oh, where do we hear this from? Ring a bell. Where does this come from? Korach. Korach comes out against Aaron the Kohen. Doesn't come out against Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu is the king. He's got the status of a king. If he would have come out against Moshe, they would have killed him straight away. So what does he say? I want to be the high priest. It's not fair. I also have a pedigree. I also have genealogy. So therefore, if I have genealogy, Moshe Rabbeinu is playing favorites. Not fair. Right? Moshe wants him to repent. He doesn't want to repent. If the Moshe says, God's going to choose. And he got swallowed up. He and 250 great people, they all get swallowed up. So it's not about equality here. God chose. God said to Moshe, take Aaron, do this, do that, do the other thing. Moshe didn't act on his own. Right? Go through a lot of the Torah. It says, by the Be'er Shema Moshe Lamor. God spoke to Moshe saying, or God spoke to Moshe and Aaron saying, tell the Jewish people this, tell the Jewish people that. So if we believe that the Torah essentially comes from God, then what's he complaining about? And what's he making fun of? Why is he making fun of Moshe? Right? Gemara says a number of things that he said that, yeah, he's poking fun. You're playing favorites. It's not fair. This, that. And he got eaten up. Right? He got swallowed up by the ground. Now, that being the case, what do I see from that? Very simple. This is from the Torah. No commentaries here. The Karaites will be happy. No commentary. What does the Torah tell me? Korach complains. He's jealous. He wants to be the high priest. Moshe Rabbeinu says, okay, but God said Aaron's going to be the high priest. But I want to be the high priest. Yeah. God said no. That's it. God said no. It's going to go through Aaron. I was playing favorites, this, that. Okay, that killed him. That is what ended up getting him killed. So therefore, we can't do what we want when I want. Oh, why can't you do this and do that? Because he can't. That's it. They didn't command him to do it. They don't have a command to do it. They can't do it. Depends what it is. Right? If they're not in the process of conversion, yeah, there's certain things they can do. There are certain things that are off limits, but you can't, again, you cannot take on things unless you're in the process of conversion, right? And I have a whole class that I've been doing this for more than 6 months, right? 65 classes I think I've given, 66 now we're doing philosophical things, right? About the afterlife and the purpose of man, the purpose of God, or who God is or whatever, doing these type of things. The soul, where the soul comes from, but, there are obligations that Noahides have. And there are things they can do. They can tap into certain things. Yeah, but they can't do things like a Jew. It's complex, not so simple. Not so simple. Yeah. So what's a person claiming? But I want to be able to do this. Why should I have to serve Jews? Well, who else is supposed to serve? You say, I'll serve God. Okay. You're going to serve God. Very good. How are you supposed to serve God? Would you like to give me, Encyclopedia Britannica on the subject? How you're exactly supposed to serve God? You're not chosen, right? Let's understand, right? I don't think they're gonna have an issue with this. The Jewish people are chosen, non-Jews aren't, right? But there's an inferiority complex here, right? Why do I say inferiority? Because they're gonna say, why do you have to serve us? Right? So God says that's the case. Non-Jews are gonna serve Jews. Prophets bring it down, right? They're, the end of days, they're going to grab on a Jew sits. They're going to ask them. They want to learn. They want to know what they're obligated to do. Why should somebody think if they don't have an elevated soul that he's not saying they should be better? Right? That's not the claim. The claim is that they don't want to be subservient. They don't want to have to serve us. If we're the chosen people, and that's what the Torah says, and the Torah says it many times. If that's what the Torah says, then my question is, what should non-Jews be doing? So the answer they're going to say is to serve God. Okay, very good. How are you going to serve God? How are you going to know what to do to serve God? And this is the single biggest question non-Jews have coming out of Christianity. What do I do now? That a lot of people don't know they're allowed to convert. And even if they don't convert, what do they keep? How are they supposed to keep it? There's a big mishmash out there. You know, a lot of people teaching, they don't know how to teach. They don't know what they should be teaching. Yeah, and they make mistakes, right? Again, I'm not saying I'm perfect by any stretch. Yeah, but the comment was he makes some good points, but he's big ignorant. Okay. Yeah. So I would say like this, you know, go through the laws, you know, go through the Noahide laws, you know, explain what they are. You're gonna tell me there's 7. Well, I'm gonna tell you they're about 65 or 70. So I'm gonna ask, okay, so what should they do? What should they do in Rosh Hashanah? Should non-Jews keep Rosh Hashanah? Are they allowed to keep Rosh Hashanah? Judgment of the world should apply to non-Jews also. Man gets judged. 100%. Man gets judged. What about other holidays? They allowed to keep? You know, the Rambam says they keep things they're not allowed to keep. They're making up a new religion. So okay, it's a little bit dodgy. You have to know. It's not a lot of material, you know, written on it. But, you know, I love people very quick to open their mouths without facts. So I would say, go back, go learn what the Noahide laws say, what your obligation is, you know, in them, and then come back, get the knowledge, proper knowledge, and then come back. But I tell you even further than that. You're going to call me from Chabad again. They're the only ones that hold such a thing. That it's my job to go out there, you know, and try and bring them back. Okay. You know, if you're 1 against 100, you can't really bring that as a proof, right? Because it says in the book of Exodus, chapter 23, verse 2, we go after the majority for good, not for bad. Yeah. So the problem over here is, as you can see from the question, the problem is, I would agree, if a person's a decent non-Jew and you got Jews not doing the right thing, should they have a higher portion of the world to come? They could. I'm not saying not. No, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that's true. You know, they could have a higher portion of the world to come. But someone who keeps Torah or mitzvahs, you know, and has an elevated soul, that's different. So someone's going to say, oh, talk about an elevated soul, that's discrimination. Yeah. Non-Jews are created differently than Jews. Women are created differently than men. There are different obligations. I don't think that's so hard to understand. There are different obligations. Nobody is created equal, even men, even women. They're not created equal, even in their own sex. Why? Because each one has their own purpose in life. And each one goes through their own things. Some do better, some do worse. Nobody's the same. We're created from the same mold. That's what Rashi says. When God created man, he created them from like a coin, from a mold, right? So we are the same in that sense, whether you're male or female, right? It doesn't matter, right? But it's from the same mold, okay. But each person is different. They're totally different. They may have eyes and hair and ears and legs and arms or whatever, but they're different. They're not the same. They don't think the same. No two people think the same. It'd be boring if they did, right? No, you know, no one agrees on everything. Okay, so if nobody's the same, why, you know, there's a bad assumption. And the bad assumption is, well, we're all created equal. No, that's not true. Right? Torah says not that way. Many times, Torah says that. So what am I supposed to do? You're going to argue with God? Could. You know, you say change it. That's not going to change. Torah's not going to change. Can't go against what Moses said. If God said so, that's it. I understand. Why should I be inferior? Okay, but the answer is because you didn't accept the Torah Mount Sinai. Anyone who didn't accept the Torah or doesn't convert, they're on a lower level. That's just the way it is. They don't have the same soul makeup. A lot of this is Kabbalah, by the way. Yeah, they don't have the same soul makeup. So if they're not created the same, they don't have the same purpose. Why would I think they're the same? They're not the same. You got to say Jews should serve non-Jews? Well, that's not what the Torah said, right? So I understand. A person going to have an issue, right? Person may have an issue, but again, let's see where the question comes from, right? You know, this is my point. I don't care if people ask questions. Let them ask as many questions as they want. That's what Torah is for. Yeah, but look at how the questions being asked. What our goal, our purpose is to serve religious Jews like Rav just says, right? Why does it have to be like that? Right? There's an attitude issue. There's no attitudes here. There should never be any attitudes. The attitude should be, God said it, we keep it, that's it. That's my obligation. But I have to understand it. And again, where's their frustration? I'll tell you very simply where frustration is. People want all the knowledge in one shot. People have a lot of misconceptions, tons and tons of misconceptions. Okay, you got to take these misconceptions one at a time and deal with them and get them answered. Sometimes, the question's better than the answer. I would agree. But at the same time, there are a lot of things, people say, I don't like that answer. Or this answer doesn't appeal to me. Well, let me make another thing clear. When, the rabbis didn't give all the answers. They gave maybe, a few here, there, the Rambam, others, try and come up with answers, why we do what we do, but at the end of the day, keep in mind one thing, there's a lot of literature. There's a lot of information out there that you're not privy to. Why are you not privy to it? Because you don't know it. You haven't spent years and years and years learning, right? But everybody wants everything instantaneously. They want the answer now. They want it to resonate now. It doesn't always work that way. And not only that, there are a lot of questions that are extremely complex. There might be a bottom line answer, but you might have to explain 10 different things in order to get to the answer. And that's frustrating, right? That I would agree. It can be frustrating, right? But the only way to get answers and to really understand is to put yourself 100% in learning, and learning what the issues are, and learning, that's it. That's the only way, but it's going to take step by step, and you have to have patience. A lot of people don't have patience. They hear something, they can't go to Rabbi Dr. Google because he doesn't speak about it, right? But there's a ton of information people are missing. So I would say you got to have patience. Not easy to have patience. Okay. I would agree, right? Some of these subjects, yeah. There are certain things, I've had over the years, questions, didn't get answers, left them as questions. And somehow, somewhere down the line, got an answer, read this, saw that, saw something else, and then eventually got an answer. But doesn't mean we have to have an answer for everything at every second. Right? And I've seen this a lot also. People don't have patience. Get have patience. Not everything is a one-syllable answer. It could be yes, but, there are a lot of other factors involved. And, and a person has to have humility. Because you don't have humility over here, what does this person sound like? It's got an ego. Or ego, as we would say here. We would say here in Israel. Got an ego, he's got a problem. Right? What's the problem? I don't want to be inferior. Why do I have to be inferior? Women can say, why do I have to be weaker than men? We can be taken advantage of more than men. Could be. Yeah. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice, what our sex is. I mean, today they'll say differently, but, whatever it is, it is. Whoever our family is, that's who it is. We don't have a choice. We're not given that choice. Who our siblings are, our parents are, socioeconomic situation. We're not given a choice. But now people see in hindsight, say, oh, but it's like this and like that and like the other thing. And I want like this. Well, doesn't matter what you want. It's not a question of what I want. See, this is something people have to understand, right? And that is you have to lay yourself down. I'm not saying going in blind. That's what the Christians do, right? It has to be done through knowledge. But being done through knowledge means you got to go through. You got to plow through material. It's a lot of material. A lot of material. I'm not saying I know everything. Plenty of things I don't know. Right? I'm toying with the idea now because it just keeps coming up that I may in the near future start a class going through each mitzvah. What the source of the mitzvah is, questions on, what we do and why we do and this and that, and work through them. Right? I'm toying with the idea. I haven't decided either way yet, but it may be a very good idea because, a lot of these things come up about, okay, here's the mitzvah, why do we do it? Right. And again, sometimes, a lot of times there'll be a verse based on it, but you're going to say, okay, so now where do we get why we do what we do based on the verse? Okay, so it's broken down, right? Some very good books on it, that break it down, mitzvah by mitzvah. So I am toying with the idea. I haven't fully decided yet, but it's probably a good idea because questions like this come up all the time. If the Torah says this, well, what's my obligation? What do I have to do? And why do I have to do it? But again, there are certain things that if they've been done already, they're not going to change. In general, they're not going to change, right? In this case, the Jewish people accepted the Torah, Mount Sinai. That's not going to change. Non-Jews have to go through conversion. If they can't prove Jewish lineage, they have to go through conversion. They might have to go through conversion anyway, even if they can prove Jewish lineage. But that's not even the point. Things don't change. They're not going to change. Yeah. So there are certain things, let's say better. There are certain things that you can't do anything with. That's it. Right. There are other things, okay, might be able to work with certain things and, certain modern, questions or whatever. Okay. Because a lot of these things were, rabbis didn't know about. So, they have to be dealt with. Okay. But that's not innovation. That's not changing anything. Right? That's just making a fence around the Torah. That's just understanding what it is. Right? One example we always give, the Torah says you're not allowed to kindle a fire on Shabbos. That's explicit. Yeah. So what about a microwave? Microwave kindling a fire? What about electricity? Right? Someone said, yeah, you turn on the switch, it doesn't do anything. I said, okay. I said, let me ask you. I said, take off the plastic, of the switch. Take off the plastic, stick a screwdriver in it. I said, I'm not gonna do that. I said, why not? If I do that, I'm gonna get electrocuted. Oh, but you just told me you didn't do anything. There's an electric current in there. Something's going on. Turn it on, turn it off. Something there is going on. Right? The whole question exactly why it's forbidden, what category it comes under. But everyone agrees, all rabbinic authorities hold, at least in the Orthodox camp, that's forbidden. Right? It's forbidden to use electricity. But the rabbis didn't have electricity. So we have to judge it for our generation. Is that the same thing? If you cook on an electric stove or an oven, is that the same thing? Well, it's definitely going to be similar. Why? You can try this at home. Turn on your electric stove or your gas stove. Light a match, stick your hand in both. What's going to happen? You're going to burn them. It's the same thing. Exactly. It's similar. Even if the mechanics aren't necessarily the same, the end result is the same. Microwave might be a little bit different. It doesn't work like that, right? But anything similar seemingly should be forbidden. Oh, someone's going to say, look, the rabbis are changing the Torah. No, not changing it. They're examining whether that applies today or doesn't. Is that the same thing as kindling a fire or not? They didn't have it, right? 2,000 years ago, they didn't have microwave, right? They didn't have ovens. They didn't have any of these things. They didn't have gas ovens or whatever like we have today, right? They're different types of ovens. Okay. So electricity, they didn't have. So that has to be evaluated. They have to evaluate the information. Who do we evaluate the information? Who evaluates that information? Rabbis today, right? That's Deuteronomy chapter 17, right? You listen to the Levite and the Kohen in every generation, whatever they say. What is left is right, right is left. If you don't listen to them, death penalty, right? So I hear people say all the time, I don't have to listen to them. I can do what I want. I'll make it up as I go along. I'll listen to God. God told you to listen to the Kohen and the Levite in every generation. Can't make it up as you go along. It's criteria. It's definitely criteria. And that's what we have, right? That's all we have. Yeah. So this part of the question, right? This part of the question is coming from a place of inferiority. That's where it's coming from. I feel I shouldn't do like this. Why should I have to do this? That's not the question. The question is, as a non-Jew, what's your obligation? What's your obligation? You want to accept all the Torah? You want to convert? Very good. You don't want to? You don't have to. That's also fine. But Jews and non-Jews are not the same. Men and women are not the same. They're not. And people of different tribes, if you're not from the tribe of Levi, right? There are things you can't do. If there be a temple in Jerusalem today, there are things you can't do. You can say, but I want to be a Kohen, or I want to be a Levite. So you can think whatever you want. You don't come from that line. You don't come from that line. That's it. That's finished. You know, there are a lot of things I'd love to do. I'd love to do, and guess what? Can't. Can't. You can't change it. If you don't come from that tribe, can I be from that tribe? I want to be from that tribe. Okay. I want to be a lot of things. I want to be able to walk on water. I want to have a 40-inch vertical leap so I can dunk a basketball. That's not going to happen, right? At least not in my present state. That's not going to happen. I may be a 3-inch vertical leap if I'm lucky. Yeah, even way back. I was halfway decent at basketball. But okay, so that's not going to happen. Can I change it? Can't change it. Yeah, I can jump on a trampoline or something. Okay, but in natural terms, can't change it. There's no way to change it. So again, I understand where it's coming. Yeah, but again, did God give the Torah? He didn't give the Torah. And if he gave the Torah, he gave it over to the rabbis and this and that. We have to listen to them. That's what we have to do. There's nothing in between. And I'll tell you, even if you think it's in between, even if you think you're going to do what you want, you'll disappear. You'll disappear. And that's what's happened. Anyone who thinks they know better than God, and they don't have to listen to this one, they don't have to listen to that one, and I'm going to make it up as I go along, okay? I promise you, I'm not going to curse anyone here, but I promise you'll never get anywhere. You won't get anywhere in knowledge. You won't get anywhere in conversion. No, you won't get anywhere. Why? Because you're going to say, it's my way, the highway. I want to do what I want. Torah's not about what I want. God doesn't care what I want. Doesn't care what anybody wants. Doesn't care what my Rebbe wants, anyone else wants. God wants what he wants. Our will has to be subservient to his will. That's it. That's what we have to do. And sometimes there are things that sting. That can sting and that can be hard. Okay. But you know why it's hard? Because it's a lack in us. It's not a lack in God. It's not like, we got to change this, change that, make it more usable. No, it's a lack in us. Period. That's what it is. That's what we have to work on. The mitzvahs are not the problem. They are not the problem. The way the rabbis interpret it, that's not the problem. The problem is us keeping it. Right? I've heard someone say, so many mitzvahs, so many things, so many this, that. You can't keep everything, and you just drive yourself nuts. Okay, you got to learn. That's why kids learn long hours. They learn long hours because they have to know what to do, and how to pray. And what happens if you make a mistake and you get there late, and what can you cut off? What can you, circumvent because you have to keep pace and other things. There are a lot of laws to know. And part of the frustration is coming from lack of knowledge or even bad knowledge that a person has. I get it. Makes perfect sense. If you don't have patience, you'll never survive this. Never. Not possible. Why? Then for that reason. For exactly that reason. You want everything now. You want it fast. You want it instantaneous. It doesn't work that way. It takes a long time. It takes a long time. Sometimes, I'll answer someone's question. I'll come back, but why about this and why about that? Right? So, okay, I have to go back 7, 8 steps and say, okay, this is like this is like that. We learn from this, we extrapolate from that. They're missing 6 or 7 steps, at least. So you're going to say, well, that's not fair. It's not fair, you're right. So I also started at the bottom. The only difference is I know how to read Hebrew. Okay. But I also started at the bottom. And I took a lot of time plowing through things to gather up knowledge. So I did it nights, besides learning what I was learning during the day. Right? I'd go through Chumash. I go through the commentaries on Chumash. I would learn Jewish law, just, as much as I could. If I had questions, I had people to go to, but I had to fill in gaps, a lot of gaps. But it took time. I read books on Jewish philosophy. When I was more tired, I put in tons of hours. To catch up. It wasn't overnight. It wasn't in 6 months. Every holiday, so I learned all the laws about the holiday, more or less. So every year it got easier. What applies, doesn't apply, this, that, practical things, but it's a ton of knowledge. So it's like asking, like the Gemara says by Hill, someone asks Hill, you tell me the entire Torah in 1 foot. That's what it's like. I'm not saying, everyone asks me questions like that, but sometimes it feels like that. Okay, I want the answer to this, that, and the other. These are complex things that have multiple layers, multiple levels. Yeah, but there are certain things, if you don't understand the base of it, then you're not going to understand the answer. right? They're going to say, well, the answer doesn't resonate. It doesn't matter if the answer resonates or not. It's not the only reason that was given. It could be 100 other reasons. But that doesn't matter. You still have to keep it. That's the bottom line, right? The person wants to take it slower so they understand things better. Okay. I don't have an issue with that, but just realize there's a ton of information out there you're missing. You got to have patience. 100%. You got to have patience. And it's frustrating. I definitely understand. It's frustrating. Yeah. I was also frustrated, but you know what? It started from the bottom. I had to scratch, crawl, and this. And it was hard. It was frustrating. Yeah, humiliating in some ways. Not knowing basic things. Okay, what are you gonna do? You gotta learn. Why most people knew me many years ago with a Walkman and tapes. That's what I did. That's all I listened to. Go, 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. Got other knowledge, right? But you have to be all in. That's the whole point. You want to convert, you got to be all in. You want to be a no-hide, I'd say also you have to be all in, but there are things you can't do. Things that don't apply. Yeah, it's more complex though for no-hides. Yeah, because there's not a lot written about it. So you have to extract from different places where things are brought down. Do things apply? They don't apply to non-Jews. It's complex. It's like anything else, but you need patience. So we're meant all human beings were created to serve Hashem. You're right. But some human beings have different purpose. Non-Jews do not have the same purpose. I don't see why they should. Right? This is a big mistake. Because the Torah makes clear they don't have the same purpose. Torah makes clear that we're chosen, they're not chosen. We have a different purpose. Right? So here's the thing, that my purpose to serve Jews? Jews have the highest purpose in the world. That's why it's a mind-boggling thing. It's a mind-boggling thing that you see what Jews have gone through throughout the millennium was still here. Pogroms and Holocaust and all kinds of things. And there've been all these crusades, everybody wanting this small piece of land. I mean, the Arabs have 22 countries, 21, 22 countries. What are they fighting over this? What do they want this piece of land? Forget about the Quran, doesn't even mention, doesn't even mention it pretty much. So, what are they fighting about? What is this whole thing? Because they want something that doesn't belong to them. Doesn't belong to them. Yeah. But if you look in the bigger scheme of things, this country is the size of state of New Jersey from top to bottom. It's not very big. They have the 21 other countries. Let them take all the other countries. Let them fight amongst themselves. They want a small piece of land. There's a bigger thing going on. Right? The Jews get accused of all kinds of things in all countries. Where they have money, they don't have money, there's anti-Semitism left and right. Why are we the most picked on out of anyone? Out of anybody? Not even close. Not even close. Someone will say, oh, look at the blacks have gone through. Again, no offense to the blacks, not even close to what we've gone through. We'll quote Miss Whoopi Goldberg over here, yeah? The Holocaust wasn't about race. Oh, really? Hitler, I don't think she ever read his book, Mein Kampf, and even if she didn't, yeah, he systematically said we're going to exterminate the Jewish people. Clear. I'm not even making that up. Clear as day. So, we're not going to quote her because she's an idiot, but okay, right? I'll give her, a few seconds of a spotlight over here, my Q&A. Yeah. So what? It was a systematic destruction of a people. That sounds like pretty much destruction of a race to me. And that's what his goal was. I don't think anyone disagrees with that except for her and Holocaust deniers. Okay. Yeah. Blacks ever been exterminated like that? I don't think so. Yeah. Certainly not in recent history or, way back. I'm not saying they've had it easy by any stretch. Yeah, definitely not saying that. It's part of the curse. Part of the curse of Ham. But even so, even without that, the Jews systematically, there's nothing talking about. It's not even close. Not even close. Seeing people make those comparisons, they're just insane. They're crazy. Right? So you're right. Everyone's created to serve God. That's true. But some have a higher purpose. Jews have a higher purpose. God himself says it. Can non-Jews tap into it? Sure. They have to learn how to, and they have to know how to. They can't overstep boundaries. They can't just do whatever they want and say, well, I want to do this. right? But again, someone's going to say, but I want to do more. Okay, so convert or do whatever you're allowed to do as a non-Jew. That's what I would say. But you have to learn what to do. Go to nohidnations.com. You can sign up for free. 65 classes there so far. 65, 66, and remember, whatever. 65 classes for free. Not going to be free forever. Right? Definitely going to charge for it when I finish. I got another few weeks, 3-4 weeks, or whatever. But go through each class about an hour, give or take. Give or take. But learn it. Learn it and understand what it is. I mean, it's not, we're not reinventing science. A lot of it's pretty straightforward. Some of it's vague. I would agree. Some of it's vague, right? But those guys say, oh, he's ignorant over here. Go learn, please. Go learn and don't tell me, Chabad and everyone else in the world, and all other Orthodox Jews and rabbis are saying we should be out there, paving, pounding the pavements, bringing non-Jews to their laws that are obvious. We're going to get to that. I don't think we're going to get to it today, right? But that's why the punishment by non-Jews is much more severe. There are a lot of things certain things they get the death penalty for. Why they get the death penalty? Because it's universal, right? That's going to be one of the questions. Why is non-Jew steals even a little bit? Doesn't really have so much value. You don't have to warn him, you can kill him, but a Jew not that way. Because for a non-Jew to steal even something less than the value, if all non-Jews would do it, they wouldn't be liable. Yeah, the world wouldn't survive. That's what happened. That's what happened by the floods. What happened by the flood? Sorry, the flood was sealed by stealing. There's idolatry. There was murder. There was immorality. So why didn't God seal it with that? The Rashi says it was sealed by stealing. Why? Because the world can't survive. If you can't prosecute people, what's going on in the States now? People get put in jail, they just get thrown straight out, right? They're not in jail very long, right? So that's not going to be good. Certainly not good, right? But in such a case, if you allow this to happen and people steal from other people and they don't steal enough to prosecute them, everyone's going to steal a little bit, and they'll steal everything. You can't live like that. So that's universal. That's the difference. That's why non-Jews are going to be punished much more severely, whether they know or they don't know, right? Because over here it's universal. It's something everybody knows. God's not going to hammer someone if they don't know. Certainly not. Yeah, this is universal. That's why it's more severe. It would be something they wouldn't know about, and God's not telling them, and it's not revealed. Okay, I get it. Then they can have a good complaint. Then they can say it's not fair. We didn't know. But they're not going to get upstairs after 120 years. God's going to say, hey, keep the no-hide laws. Say, no, I didn't know that. God's going to show them what they were, universal. Say, you can't punish me for that. God says, what do you mean? Don't steal. You got caught cheating on the IRS. You got caught doing this. You got caught doing that. Why do you think you should have a portion of the world to come? So, but no one ever taught me. No one ever taught you not to steal. Go on. No one ever taught you these are basic things. Yeah, 5-year-old knows. 6-year-old knows. That should be reinforced in school not to do certain things. Basic. So non-Jew can't say, oh, I didn't know. What do you mean you didn't know? How'd you not know? Because they're going to say, person's going to say, come on. They're going to make excuses why they did certain things. They're going to say it was okay. Euthanasia is okay. Why is euthanasia okay? Euthanasia is okay because we want to put grandpa out of our own misery. Out of his own misery, he's suffering. Well, you're not playing God, getting killed, that's murder. Yeah, these are things that are obvious. God's not going to hit someone if something's not obvious. That's really the bottom line. Someone has any Kabbalah no-hide can learn? Nope. None at all. I have a whole video about Kabbalah. I did on Tanakh Talk. I've spoken about it a number of times in my Q&As also. Remember one thing. Why does it say that a person should learn Kabbalah until the age 40? Because you have to have your body and soul full of Torah mitzvahs. You have to learn a lot. You have to learn the basics. And you have to have a lot of fear of heaven also. But at the same time, if you don't learn how to crawl and to walk, right? If you don't learn how to crawl, you won't be able to know how to walk. Right? If you don't know how to walk, you can't run. If you want to study higher mathematics, you can't study calculus without algebra or trigonometry. You can't. It's impossible. So Kabbalah without a lot of knowledge goes nowhere. It goes nowhere. It's not going to be understood. Either it's watered down, whatever, it's not going to be understood. Right? It's not going to be understood properly. Right? So give everyone a blessing. They want, they have the requisite knowledge. Very good. But before that requisite knowledge, you don't touch it. It should never be touched. Right? You got, Hollywood actresses, they think they're learning Kabbalah, we'll call Madonna Esther. She goes by Esther, very good. The last thing she's ever learned is Kabbalah. That I guarantee. She doesn't even know the Aleph page. You want to tell me she's learning Kabbalah? Right? Non-Jews stay far away from Kabbalah. I see people do it. These super quote-unquote non-Jews, come on, I wouldn't trust one thing they say, not one. Right? If you want to tell me they know how to learn, and they've learned tractate after tractate, they have a substantial knowledge, we'll have a discussion, maybe. Maybe, if I'm generous, we'll have a discussion. Yeah, it depends what mood I'm in. Yeah. But that's not the case. I see this all the time. I don't waste my time with this. Right? You want to tell me they know what they're talking about? Not a chance. Not a chance. They're secular Jews that think they know Kabbalah also. Okay. I'll let them think they know. But if they haven't learned properly, they don't know. Right? Like I said, I wouldn't take what they say. I wouldn't take what they say seriously anyway. They can't learn Torah for a lick. They don't know Hebrew. they don't need Hebrew. They don't know how to learn that. They don't know how to learn. They don't know how to learn the commentaries. They don't know anything. All right, so I'm not gonna take what they say seriously. In general, they're gonna say, "Oh, I learned Kabbalah. Good luck." Right? I had somebody who's finishing his quote-unquote rabbinical degree here in Israel, and he was learning. He said, "I'm learning Kabbalah." Right? So I said, "If I'm gonna be a heretic, I should know what I'm being a heretic about." So I laughed. So I said, says, "Oh, you're learning like about Kabbalah, like at JTS in New York." The head of the conservative movement, they like learn about things. They don't learn the things themselves because no one there knows how to learn either. Right, most of them. So I said, "You want to learn?" I told him. I said, "Oh, very good." He said, "No, I'm learning about the 10 spiritual worlds and all this." So I said, "Listen, Madonna or Esther, whatever you want to call her," I said, "she learns Kabbalah. She doesn't know the Aleph page." I said, "You can also learn Kabbalah." He's like, "Oh, that's very funny." I'm like, "No, but I wasn't joking." I said, "Come on, you've never learned a tractate in your life. You've never learned anything substantial. So you want to tell me you're learning Kabbalah? Come on." Yeah, you got to have a lot of fear of heaven. You have to have a ton of knowledge. You have to have a ton of knowledge, to understand it. So you say, what if someone really waters it down? Why are you learning it? Why are you learning it? If you're a Jew in training, you're going to convert, learn blessings, learn how to keep kosher, learn how to keep Shabbos, learn how to read Hebrew, learn how to pray, right? I just mentioned 5 things 10 times more important than Kabbalah will ever be in most people's lives. That's what you need to, if you're not going to convert, stay away from. Plenty of things to learn, right? Plenty of things to learn. Yeah, I see people speak, Kabbalistic ideas, this and that. Okay. I'm not a fan of it. Definitely not a fan of it. Especially the non-Jews. You want to talk to people on the level, it's one thing. Want to give it over to non-Jews? All right. Not my bag. Not my bag, so to speak. You speak to people what they can handle, what they can grab onto. Yeah, you don't speak beyond them or speak about these other esoteric ideas. Okay, they're nice things. Okay. Someone asked me a question a while ago. I said, "Wow, interesting question." They told me I heard it from such and such a rabbi. I said, "Okay." I said, "Source it." I said, I never heard such a thing, but doesn't mean it doesn't exist. What was the source? So whatever, I looked it up. It's Kabbalah. Okay. I bring out certain things here and there. Very few. I see some people speak a lot more. Okay, I wouldn't do it. There's just no point to doing it. Just to show it's more esoteric, I can go very deep without speaking about Kabbalah. That's not my main thing. But okay, someone here says, I would agree that we need boot camp. Yeah, but you got to start somewhere. You just have to have enough humility, take it step by step, block by block. That's what it is. And when you take it step by step, block by block, you get somewhere. 100%, I promise you'll get somewhere. They're building blocks. But yeah, you have to have a lot of patience, which a lot of people don't. And say I'm getting older and this, okay, but you got to study the basics first. 100%, you got to study the basics first. People want to jump levels. You can't jump levels. You can't jump levels. Again, you're not going to start just opening up a math book and going through calculus without knowing other stuff. You're not going to do it. I don't care if you go on Google and other things. You're not going to do it. It's going to be too hard. You need the basics first, right? People want to, yeah, I get it. It's more esoteric, it's more interesting, this and that, fine, right? But there's so many other things to learn, even for non-Jews. Even for non-Jews, like I always say, someone doesn't want to convert, I keep you busy for the next 250 years. Not even a problem. Without Kabbalah, without anything to be forbidden for non-Jews to learn. Not even a problem, right? And I'm not bragging. There's just so much information out there. Muster, Jewish philosophy, Chumash, properly how to learn the 5 books of Moses and Tanakh. That's huge. Has plenty right there. Plenty right there. You could spin your head for days on certain things. Someone asked, is there any way of process which makes bread not hamotzi? Yeah. If bread is, let's say you had bread, you made it into what's it called? Not toast. You made it. There's certain things people make from bread that's really like a snack. So that's not bread anymore. Yeah, that'd be one thing. If it doesn't come from one of the 5 grains, you don't make hamotzi on it. Right? If you had rice bread, that'd be shakel. Right? You'd make a shakel. Or if it's bread made out of what do you call it? Out of maize, out of cornmeal. Yeah. I used to sit with my Rebbe when I ate breakfast. I drove nuts one day. Drove nuts a lot. I drove nuts one day because he was eating bread and he made a shakel. So I was like, why are you making a shakel? So he said, because it's not one of the 5 grains. I said, how do you know? I kept talking to him. Finally, he called up someone from the his kashrus organization, asked him about it, and whatever. And he was right. It was shakel. So he just like gave me the stare. I was like, okay, I just wanted to be sure. You didn't make the wrong blessing. But yeah, if it's not made out of the 5 grains, then it's not a motzi. Fried bread is still bread. Fried bread should be, yeah. It should be. French toast, I think you have to wash. French toast, you should have to wash. That I'm pretty sure. But yeah, if it's made into a snack or other things, then I would say no. Yes. Yeah, like I said, I think it's hamotzi. Yeah, it definitely is hamotzi. If it's really just bread and it's fried, yeah, that should be the case. Someone asks, can I tell them what are the days of the coming of the Messiah? We're living in that generation right now. We're living in the generation of the coming of the Messiah. And I want to go through the whole thing. I'll just mention, because I think I spoke about that. If you go through what do you call it, controversial issues, I think I spoke about the end of days. So there are 15 signs. There are 15 signs that we're living in the end of days. From the end of the Gemara and Sota, that the rabbis give us 15 signs, and they're all these signs have come to fruition that this is the generation. This is the generation. So one of them is that chutzpah is going to run rampant, which we see that it is. Certainly chutzpah for Torah and against rabbis and rabbinic authorities. That we've seen. Governments are going to be turned into heresy. That we've seen. So a lot of things. A lot of there's a list. There's a list about 15 different 15 different things. So I'll tell you. Go to my YouTube channel and I have a playlist of controversial issues. So the end of the video there that I made on end of days. So I speak about it over there. Yeah, so fried bread again would be when someone eats it as a snack. If you eat it like bread, I would say if you eat it like bread, it's like bread. Yeah, like if you're not Sephardic, if you eat matzah like bread, then it's bread. Then you make hamotzi. Sephardim only make hamotzi on matzah when it is on Passover, because of the importance of Passover. But during the week they would make mizonos because they don't consider it like bread; it's more like a cracker to them. So if you eat it like a meal, then I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. Fried bread is like French toast. I would say it's like French toast. So that should be hamotzi, right? If you're eating it as a snack, it doesn't matter. I think you'd have to wash anyway. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm gonna stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday. 10 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, or Michael Chaim Kaufman, or Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. I got playlists there, Pirkei Avos, Ethics for Our Fathers, Torah Portion of the Week, Q&As, controversial issues. Send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHIMCOFFMAN